Welcome to the Bill Gove Speech Workshop. My name is Steve Siebold, and I'll serve as your guide over this course to walk you through what a lot of people in this industry have said for the last 73 years has really built the majority of the personal development industry. The graduates that have come through this program since 1947 have probably built at least 80% of the personal development industry. We're talking about people like Cavett Robert, the founder of the National Speakers Association, and of course the first winner of the world famous Cavett Award. People like Bob Proctor, the most successful speaker to ever come out of Canada, star of the movie The Secret, you might remember. Larry Wilson, the great Larry Wilson, who founded Wilson Learning in 1965, graduated from this program in 1960, went on to build the Wilson Learning Company, which today is the second largest training company in the world, with sales in the billions of dollars. And the list of graduates that you're about to join as you go through this course goes on and on and on. As a matter of fact, you probably know this by now, but this course has created more 6- and 7-figure paid professional speakers than any course in the world. As a matter of fact, you could take all the courses, literally, and put them all together that you've ever heard about professional public speaking, and you wouldn't even have a fraction of the 6- and 7-figure graduates that have come through the Bill Gove Speech Workshop. It's that powerful of a process. So I hope you're really excited. I'm excited to do this with you. We've been doing this program, well, I've been part of it for about 25 years. And of course, it started in 1947. It's always been done live. It's always been done live all over the world, in Europe and Australia, and mostly the Western world. Of course, the United States and Canada have been the two hot spots for this workshop, but we've never offered it online until now. Of course, technology has allowed us to do this. And I think you're going to get a ton out of being able to see it online like this and go back and watch the program over and over and over, because I will tell you this. There are a lot of moving parts. Now, that being said, it's not rocket science, it's not calculus, it's not complicated. There's just a lot of detail and nuance to the program. I'll give you an example. I was having lunch with Bob Proctor up in Toronto, one of our graduates from 1968. He graduated in 1968 the first time, and then 1998. He came back 5 different times since 1968, four times after 1968. He's one of the biggest speakers in the world, of course. And we were working together up in Toronto years ago, probably close to 20 years ago, I suppose, at this point. And we were having lunch, and he said, you're having some really good success. I had just hit 7 figures in the business after a few years, and he said, what do you think it is? I mean, what do you think makes that workshop create these tremendous speakers? And I thought about it for a little bit, because I wanted to give the right answer, and I had it in my head. And I said, wait, before I answer, let me ask you, because you've been doing it a lot longer. You're more successful than I am doing this. And so you tell me. And he said, it's the nuances. It's the details. It's the little things that most people will never see on stage as a speaker. The audience will never notice these things. He says it's kind of like Johnny Carson doing The Tonight Show, or any great entertainer working. The audience doesn't see the nuances that are going on behind the scenes, because all it looks like is it's natural. It's just being naturally orchestrated, and they can't see the mechanics. In other words, this is what Bill Gove used to say. He'd say, make no mistake, as a paid professional speaker, the puppet strings exist. The key is the audience can't see the strings. It just looks natural. It's like when a great host is hosting a television show, like a Johnny Carson or a Jimmy Kimmel or any of your favorite, Stephen Colbert, any of these guys, right? These great performers. You think, well, how tough can it be? I mean, all you really have to do is sit there next to a guest and interview them. Oh, if you've ever done that, it takes a lot more to look natural than you'd think. It's difficult. It's extremely difficult to make it look natural, because it's not really a natural thing. Speaking is the exact same way. So this workshop is designed, as Bob Proctor said, to teach you not only the basics, not only the tips, the tools, the strategies, the things that we do, these things that we do to make this work so we can get paid to do this, because that's what this is about. A lot of people, not anyone maybe, but most people can get up and talk if they're not too afraid. They can learn not to be afraid through practice. But very few people are ever going to get paid to talk. Think about that. Getting paid to talk. Not only getting paid to talk, getting paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars an hour to talk. That's a pretty rare thing. You're asking for a lot, right? When you want to be a paid professional speaker. And you've come to the exact right place. Literally, the place that's built almost all the greats. You know? If the people that didn't graduate from this course were heavily influenced by people like Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, people that were heavily influenced by this program that didn't actually attend, and the list goes on and on and on, besides our graduates. So you're about to embark on something really exciting. I'm excited to be your guide, your host in this process. Right now, I have more experience teaching this course than anyone alive. Bill Gove passed away in 2001, and we took over from there. But I want to tell you a little bit about who this guy, Bill Gove, really was, because he was a very special person. Bill Gove worked as a salesperson for the Beechnut Packing Company, for 3M Corporation. In 1953, he was awarded America's #1 salesperson. He accepted the award at the amphitheater, the old amphitheater in Chicago. If you remember back in the day in Chicago, they had the International Amphitheater. They tore it down since. But he accepted the award in front of 15,000 people. And he gave this speech. He beat out thousands and thousands of people in sales, hundreds of thousands of salespeople, to win this #1 in 1953 salesperson of the year. And he gave this speech. And it was called Billy Be Yourself. And it was about it was Bill talking to his young son, sort of hypothetically. And it was an overnight sensation. And people said, you got to come to our sales meeting and talk about this. So Bill did. And he started going all around the country as he was working for 3M Corporation, which his job was to put Scotch tape, this new product called Scotch tape. They wanted him to popularize it all over the country before Scotch tape was a well-known name, that no one really knew what it was. Bill Gove headed that project, the Scotch tape project. Of course, Scotch tape is a household word now, but it wasn't when Bill Gove took it over. So he was very high-level executive at 3M, selling at the highest level. And he was going all around the country doing this, speaking, and he fell in love with speaking and talking to salespeople. So he embarked on a part-time, which most people start part-time, professional speaking career. And this went on for a long time, and he was very, very interested in it. And in 1940, this goes back now to 1945, when he was even just kind of toying with, he was giving sales meetings to his salespeople at 3M. In 1945, he was working for 3M, and a gentleman named J. Beecroft, who became a big speaker as well later on, many years later, came up to Bill at the end of the day and he said, hey, Bill, you got to come to the Rotary Club and watch this guy. His name's Dr. Kenneth McFarland. He's a speaker. They call him the Dean of American Speakers, Dr. Kenneth McFarland. And he's speaking at the Rotary Club. And I have a ticket, and you can come and watch this guy because I know you like to speak. And Bill said, you know what? I'm going to go to the golf club. He belonged to St. Paul Golf Club. Bill loves golf. And I'm going to try to get 9 holes in before it gets dark. And Jay said, there's a free steak in it. And Bill said, what time do we leave? And so according to J.B. Croft, they went to the Rotary Club, and Bill sat in the back in case he was bored so he could leave and get some golf in. And he said, Bill never blinked. He watched this Dr. Kenneth McFarland, and he just was mesmerized. And so he went up to Dr. McFarland at the end, and he said, that's the greatest speech I ever heard in my life. You have to mentor me. You have to be my guide. You have to be my mentor. And Dr. McFarland said, thank you, I'm flattered. I don't mentor speakers, but thank you very much for coming. So the next week, Bill is playing golf with the president, Mr. McKnight, of 3M Corporation. Bill was, like I said, pretty high up. And he said, what do I do, Mr. McKnight? I want to be a speaker. He doesn't mentor speakers. He's the greatest speaker in the country. He said, do what you did to put Scotch tape on the mat, follow him around. And as Dr. McFarland used to say, everywhere, this is the way he talked, he'd say, everywhere I go, Cincinnati, Los Angeles, Chicago, I'd see Bill Gove in the front row. And I'd say, I don't mentor speakers. Thank you for coming. I'm flattered. I don't. And he kept following him around. And finally, Bill said, will you just have coffee with me? And Dr. McFarland said, if I have coffee with you, will you leave me alone? Please, leave me alone. And Bill said, absolutely. So they had coffee, and the rest is speaking history. Dr. Kenneth McFarland became Bill Gove's coach, his mentor. And for the next 30 years, literally 30 years, the question in the speaking business as it evolved was, who was the greatest keynoter in America? Was it the mentor, Dr. Kenneth McFarland, the Dean of American Speakers, or was it his mentee, the great conversational master, Bill Gove? And many, many people on stage all over the world asked that question to Bill Gove. And Bill said, it was Dr. McFarland, of course. But I will tell you this, as 23 years in the business full time, I will tell you this. You couldn't really compare the two. It's like comparing apples and oranges, because Dr. Kenneth McFarland, and I recommend that you find him anywhere you can on the internet. It's very difficult to get his recordings, but you might hear some you might listen or watch some on YouTube or anywhere somewhere on the internet, because they're worth listening to. They're amazing. He was more of an orator, like his mentor was, and we'll talk about that later in the course. But Bill Gove was they called him the conversational style master. And again, we'll talk about why they called him that and the rest of it. So Dr. Kenneth McFarland in history now has gone down as the Dean of American Speakers. And Bill Gove has gone down as the father of professional speaking. Sometimes people get it mixed up. They say, well, Bill Gove was the father of public speaking. Well, public speaking was around a long time before Bill Gove or Dr. Kenneth McFarland. But he was the father of professional speaking, because through this course, exactly what I'm about to teach you, he mentored and coached more top professional speakers than anyone by far in the history of the industry. There's no one even close. Right now, I think we're at 85 seven-figure speakers that have come from 0 to 7 figures from this course. It's just literally almost unbelievable. It's in a record that's almost hard to imagine anyone eclipsing in the next 100 years. Kind of amazing when you think about it.